welcome to the Konvergent Video Series for the week of June 22nd. I want to start by wishing a happy belated Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hope you guys all had a great day on Sunday. I had a great day with my family. Woke up to some wonderful homemade cards that my daughters put together, and then we just had a really fun day of hanging out around the neighborhood and doing some fun bike rides and that stuff. So hope you had a great day yourselves. So with that, on to the top few things that we'll cover in the video today. First, the market was up around 2% for the week last week. We had some big numbers on some economic data that drove a lot of that, and we'll cover that later in the video. Unemployment came in pretty flat for the week, which means it was still historically high, and we'll dive into those numbers. And finally, as I mentioned on the economic front, retail sales were the big fireworks. Last week had the record highest increase month over month ever. But as always, the devils are in the details. So bottom line, still a lot of volatility coming out as we come out of this shutdown from an economic data standpoint. So on the markets for the week, as I mentioned, the markets were up about 2%, and retail sales really are what drove that early in the week as we had that record high number. We also had some positive news on another COVID treatment, at least a potential treatment for that. So that drove the markets early in the week. However, late in the week, we also started seeing some concerning headlines about increasing COVID cases across the globe and in the US in particular, as Apple announced they were actually closing stores in some of the states that were most impacted by that. So still a pretty volatile week overall in the markets. On the unemployment front, new claims for unemployment came in again around 1.5 million, so almost the same as last week, just slightly down. However, they were much higher than what was expected. On the continuing claims, we saw about 20.5 million. So again, pretty flat number week over week on that. And again, that's the number that I think that's more important because that's showing who is staying on unemployment. And then finally, when we look at total unemployment, so claims from all of the various programs came in at just over 29 million. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, if we use that number versus the headline number, unemployment would currently be closer to 19 to 20%. So still a lot of challenges in the unemployment market in terms of how quickly jobs are being gained back during this recovery. On the retail data, or on the economic data front, additional economic data front, retail sales, as I mentioned, were the fireworks really from last week, as we saw a 17.7% increase month over month in retail sales. However, that was coming off the worst down month ever in April, where retail sales were down well over 10%. So still a great number to see, but again, coming off of the worst month. If we look at the bigger picture year over year, retail sales are still down 6% year over year. So encouraging news there. Obviously some pent-up demand that went out and bought a lot of goods out in May, but we got to see that continue on. Other economic data wasn't quite so rosy. So we saw the industrial production numbers be released, and those numbers were still significantly down. So while we're seeing a lot of people buying a lot of things, we're currently not producing a lot of things. And we can reinforce that by looking at the freight traffic. So again, we're not producing a lot and we're not shipping a lot of things right now. And so what concerns me about that is, could we see some supply shock challenges later this year as people continue to buy a lot without producing a lot? So, bottom line, still a lot of volatility out there in the data. We're going to continue to see some good data coming out as we're coming off of these horrible shutdown numbers, but we're also going to continue to see some challenging data. So some of the things to watch in the next 6 weeks or so, we've got PPP loans for small businesses. Their initial funding period is running out when they had to use those funds to get it reimbursed. We're also going to start seeing a lot of earnings release data coming in the next few weeks, and a lot of pre-release on those corporate earnings coming out. So we'll get a direction on what corporations think going forward. That's really the more important element of corporate earnings releases versus we already know that Q2 is going to be an awful quarter for earnings. What do they think is going to happen going forward? And then also, we're going to see a lot of fireworks in July, not just around the 4th of July, but what's going to happen in Congress around the next stimulus package. There's a lot of battling going on right now about, are we going to extend these extra unemployment benefits? If we are, what is that going to look like? And things are really lining up on both sides of how they're going to approach that. So again, a lot of volatility coming in the data in the next 6 weeks or so. So with that, as always, if you've got any individual questions around your situation, please feel free to reach out. We want to to make sure your investment strategy is lined up with your goals. And so definitely looking forward to talking with you if you have questions. Also, if you missed our happy hour last week, we did a great happy hour with my wife and personal chef, Val Smith. She had a couple great cooking ideas. We kind of designed it for a Father's Day kind of barbecue, but obviously those recipes work all summer, so please check that out. You can kind of skip the first 10 minutes because basically it was a repeat of a lot of what we talked about on the video today. But with that, hope you all have a great week, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.